A question comes up all the time, and it's regards to the role of viruses in the infection of the nervous system. Common ones you'll hear are Epstein-Barr virus, herpes zoster for shingles, herpes simplex for cold sore, and coronavirus. The problem is with any of these is that there's not one study that has shown that these infecting agents cause the disease, and even when you go and look at the studies that so-called confirm that they don't do that. What they do is they create the illusion that they do. I'll give you an example. It's a really important study that was done to show how the herpes simplex virus, HSV, can cause damage to the nervous system in the gut lining by administering it on rats. Okay, so how did they do that? Well, let's have a look. In the paper, I'll just describe it to you. In the paper, they administered the so-called viral stock into the intestines. And this paper is by Paola Brun and others, and colleagues, 2018. Herpes simplex virus type 1 infects enteric neurons and triggers gut dysfunction via macrophage recruitment. Okay, so they do this viral stock preparation and titration. We can argue about how they do that and that they don't really isolate viruses from that. And so how would you know whether that stock is actually causing disease? But let's just say it is viral, because we can dismantle this pretty quickly. So firstly, we don't really know what's in this. It doesn't state what is in it, and it just says that there is a viral stock and it's from these cell lines. Okay, it's pretty standard with a lot of these viral studies. And then they show the mice, in this case it's mice, and where they're from and how they're bred. So it's pretty normal as well. But then what's really interesting is that, so there's a control group of mice that are given just a placebo. And then the actual group of mice that receive the viral stock also receive this other bunch of chemicals too. One is called the anti-mouse CD4 purified monoclonal antibody. And this substance is a potent immunosuppressant. So not only are they injecting something that's viral, allegedly, even if it's just a toxin, right, which I think is what it really is, they're suppressing the immune system so it can't even mount a response to it. Interesting. Then there's this other substance, which is an nitric oxide synthase inhibitor, and this results in essentially poor blood flow. But when you actually use it on a rat or a mouse, it causes lipid peroxidation. In other words, the cell membranes of tissue in the gut will actually degrade and die. So that substance alone is a cell damaging substance, let alone what's in the viral stock. So already they've implemented something that has a supposed effect that they would, they'll say why they're using it, if you're queried, but what it actually does is damage the cells. So that's not good. Not when you're trying to prove a point here. There's another substance that's incredibly long, but it ends as pyridine carbonitrile hydrochloride. And this is an inducible nitric oxide synthase inhibitor. And what this does is it inhibits cells from proliferating. In other words, repair. It's inhibiting repair. And lastly, a thing called dichloromethylene bisphosphonic acid. And that's a macrophage inhibitor. So macrophages being inhibited means you can't remove debris or commence healing. So you've got a healing inhibitor, a debris removal inhibitor, an immune suppressant, which means it can't detoxify, and it's got something that essentially damages the cell membranes too. Those things are going to cause neurotoxicity and enterocyte damage. And that's pretty much what they found. They found that the results were that the rats, or the mice rather, that received this controlled non-active substance, the non-treatment group, had no problems. But then the group that received the virus and all this other stuff had damage to their intestinal tract and nervous system damage and changes to motility. And this is their proof that the herpes virus causes neurotoxicity and nerve damage and gastrointestinal dysfunction. And you know what? If you go back to nearly every single case of any other virus causing it, this is pretty much how they achieve it. They achieve it by adding stuff that's not viral. They don't properly purify anything and find a virus. Even if you don't worry about that, it's all this other garbage they add, which is toxic. And then they create the illusion of neurotoxicity from the implementation or the administration of a virus. And that substance is benign in every situation. So I'm not surprised that people believe this, but if you look closer, you find that it's just plain lies and deceit. But what are you to do if you don't understand what these things are and how they work? And, researchers really do just create an illusion that the science is there, but the truth is they're creating their own reality, and we believe it. So you've got to stop believing that these viruses, as far as I'm concerned, they don't exist at all, because they've never shown to be real in any study. And it doesn't matter how many times you've been told they're real, don't follow the wise words of Joseph Goebbels that no matter, as long as you're told enough times, eventually they will believe it. This classic propagandist of the Nazi Party. This is exactly out of his own handbook of how to deal with the masses and convince them of an idea that's not real. But everyone has been gaslit in regards to this, and the truth is that people do get sick, but they get sick for completely different reasons. And there are plenty of neurotoxic substances out there to blame for all these symptoms of the nervous system. So it's time to get away from the idea that viruses cause disease, cause nervous system dysfunction, because every time they try to prove it, they prove nothing.